Hey guys, it's BW and we're back out in the garage. They say the first 10 seconds of a video is the most important. It's the hook. So I put as much of the car into the picture as I could because that's our hook. This is BW's garage. We're building a 55 Chevy Gasser named Sad News. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. It helps me a lot and doesn't cost you a penny. In this episode, we're working on our custom exhaust system that we're making. We got the pieces off Speedway last year. We started on it and then we just drifted off into something else. So we're jumping back on this and getting it knocked out. So I figured I'd bring you guys in, show you what I'm about to do, what I've done, and what my plan is. Let me get you off the stoop here or the tripod and bring you over and show you what's going on. All right, so we come down out of our header right here, and that's where it's complicated but easy at the same time. This is a gasser. You obviously want fender well headers showing coming down through. It's just the calling of the gasser. But what happens is most people come down through with their exhaust system and they just dump the pipe out right here. Now I've talked to a few people that have these Tri-5s. Big Block King, I was just talking with him about it, and he said the same thing, that he's thinking about moving his exhaust inward and bringing it and dumping it out at the back tire because it gets too smoky and exhausty in the cabin of the car, you know, with the fumes coming right up here. So our plan right off the bat, before we even get going, we're going to dump our tailpipe out here at the back of the quarter panel instead of the front. All right, we got a 3-inch exhaust and we have the fender well header. So that makes a whole bunch of obstacles right away. So let me bring you guys down closer so you get a better look at what we're doing here. All right, so I had to cut the collector back, all right, and then we obviously want dumps for when we go to the track, so we needed that piece here. This was actually a long 45 that kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter until we got what we wanted. And that's what we have here. And we're just getting ready to tack this here, and on the back side. When we get it up on the bench, you guys can see how it's higher right here. So I'll either, one of two things, I'll either put a split on both sides of that collector and peel the metal up and weld it to it. Or what I think the better option is I'm just gonna cut it off around there and put a filler piece in and weld it. And that way it'll all be fitted up. This is all gonna be solid welded right through here, all right? That way, I mean, these collectors have splits on them down the bottom, if you can see one right there, for clamps, but we're not doing that. We'll just fill that up with weld, and we're gonna weld this all out the whole way around. But obviously, the collector's going down into the flow. We don't want that. We will trim that off once we get it off and back onto the bench. And that is as tight as I could get it, guys. My hopes were to get it another inch or two higher, but it just wouldn't work out. See, I even got excited and I trimmed the bolt right there for the one of the mounts. It's no big deal, but my hopes were I was going to be able to get it up that high, and I just can't because of the limitations here into the back area, because we're shooting the pipe now. This is a 3-inch pipe. Yeah, so initially we were going to come out of the muffler and go with a 90 and go straight through, cut right on top of our ladder bar, right over top of it, and then 90 back up and go over the rear. That only left us like, I had a 13mm socket sitting under there, standing upright, and it just wasn't enough because we know everything's gonna move. So I talked it over with my buddies down at All Phase. They run their own shop. They even come up and they took a look, and we all agreed. We're gonna go with a 45 coming out of the muffler and go on an angle. I'm probably gonna have like an 8-inch nipple. I'll get under there in a minute and show you. And after the 8-inch nipple, maybe 10-inch at the most, another 45, and that'll get us right on top of the rear, and we can go around the tire and then come right back out in the back. All right, so let me get underneath so I can show you that. All right, so this is looking at it from underneath the car angle. You can see how the 45, we got just enough room coming up from where the frame is, and I'll have one of my hangers come down here so it ain't clanging or anything like that. It'll be nice and tight. And like I said 8 to 10, but we'll figure it out. But we're gonna have a straight piece with another 45, and it should just get us right over top of the rear and then I'll have another 45 pointing out, and then a long piece of pipe to come out the side behind the tire. And if the angle's too long coming out the other side of the 45, my buddy Kevin's gonna bring me up to his buddy's shop that has the muffler shop up the street, and we'll get him to crank the pipe in his dies. Or he has a pipe bender, obviously. He's got a muffler shop. So I think just the 45 and a straight pipe will work, but in the event it don't, I got that in my back pocket. But it's gonna come out pretty cool, all right, coming up through here. And like I said, initially the plan was a 90, and it just put us right on top of the ladder bar. We only had like an inch between the tire and the pipe. I didn't like that. Now look at that, now we're swimming in room. And it's tucked up and it's hidden really good. And like I said, we're gonna sand all this pipe and we're gonna paint it black. It's all just gonna blend in. That was actually Kim's idea. I was like, should I paint it white? She goes, no, hide it, camo it. And we got muffler paint, the hot paint, we got it in black just for the muffler pipe. So it's gonna come out pretty cool. All right, let me get this tacked. Real quick, guys, just showed you I took all the collector bolts out, and the only gap there is for the gasket, and then nothing moved, and that's what we want to see. All right, so happy with that. Let me get it off of here and up on the bench. All right, guys, well, I pulled it out, I got it up on the table. I ended up splitting it there and there. I wanted to try the split thing before I added a third piece and cut it and all that, so a couple splits are pretty cool. It wasn't peening real nice, so I got out the oxyacetylene rig and I heated it up cherry red. Then it peened over real easy. So we got rid of the restriction. It's straight through now. There's no wall there or anything like that, so the exhaust will come straight through. There's a few peen marks. We're not worried about it. You know, they're on the top. You won't be able to see them once it's bolted up into the header anyway. And, you know, it is what it is. Plus, we're going to paint it a real nice white. All right, so to make this a really nice job, I got out the TIG welder. I'm going to get this thing TIG welded up. All right, well, we got it all TIG welded out, and it came out really nice. All right, we TIG welded that split shut, the one that was like there, the whole way around on both sides. We TIG welded our custom splits shut, and TIG welded it all the way out. All right, you can see now there's no restrictions in there. It goes straight through. We got where the weld came all the way through, so you know it's welded out really well. All right, so that's good. So we got the stuff out now to weld the passenger side exactly like this, now that we know this piece is what we want, obviously, but with the cutout going the other way. I got to start by trimming the collector down to here, and all you do to get that measurement is you just stick a fitting on there, and then I draw that out. That's pretty much what I did. And I got to trim this 90 back, and so when it slips in here, as you guys can see, obviously we only use a small portion of this, right? So I start by getting rid of a big lump of that 90, and then this will slide in, and then we just use the small little piece. All right, so I got to nibble at this, and I'll set it up, and presto, here's the little cut piece. All right, that's what we're talking about. So if I slide it into our fitting here, you know, it goes to nothing on this side, and you flip it over, and this is the small portion we use, just like I told you. And all I did was I lined these pieces up, and after I lined them up, I just transferred a line across. And then all I did was, you know, I marked it at the beginning point on the bottom, and then I had my mark here, and I just grabbed a piece of pliable sandpaper, and I just kind of whoop to mark the mark, and cut it out. That's it. So let me get this fitted on the other side. Okay, guys, let me show you what's going on real quick. I have it to where from the front of the muffler to the tire on both sides is the same, so that we're going to need identical fittings going back. I got things like that going on, but check this out. A couple things are different on this one for some other reason. You know, I cut this fitting, it's pretty gosh darn close, so that's going to work out great, but we're not going to tack that yet, and I'll tell you why. Look at my cutout. It's sticking out a little bit on this side. 1 full inch. And I know why. I mean, you know, nothing's perfect in this world, but it's like if I was to measure, excuse me for this, but if I was to measure from the center of the frame to the center of the header on both sides, this header sticks out a full inch longer. And this pipe right here, the long pipe, was 1 inch shorter than the other side for both to be in the same spot. So for whatever reason, this, you know, life ain't perfect, the headers ain't perfect, but they're close. This will drive me nuts. With this side sticking out 1 inch like this, if I'm standing up and looking down on it. And then I go over to the other side and it's tucked under there nice and neat, you know? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut that flange off and cut the pipe back and make it even on both sides. And I wanna do that, excuse me, I wanna do that before we fit this. So that way I have the flexibility of rolling this up and down, because when I move this in, I don't need it hitting the fender or the bottom of the rocker or anything like that. So I wanna do this job first. All right, guys, I figured I'd show you what was going on. Obviously I cut it back 1 inch, but by the time it got to this side, it's about 3/4. We cut a piece of sandpaper back and did the wrap trick, and it's just the way the angle is. It's actually perfect to the other one, but now it's 1 inch shorter. All right, I drew a line right there so that I could make sure the hole lines up and it's exactly where it was. I guess the most difficult part was chiseling the old piece out of the flange, and that wasn't really anything, you know. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm just going to tack this. I'm going to reassemble everything and make sure it's even with the driver's side. All right, guys, well, I'm really happy with how that came out. All right, it's right where the other side is, so we can go ahead and pull this off and weld it out. I was so happy I went ahead and I tacked the collector as well. Everything's right where it's supposed to be. All right, guys, well, we got the collector for the passenger side welded out, and let me tell you, it came out really nice. The fit up was way better than it was on the driver's side, and I think it's because we used the driver's side to transfer the cuts. I didn't have to heat up with a torch or peen anything over. It just all matched up and it welded out really nice. All right, but you guys know we had to make a modification on the cutout so that it matched the other side. We welded that back on, came out really good. It was tough behind that Y, let me tell you. I had to pull the tungsten out a little further on the torch and cheat. It's a little tiny sloppy right there, but it's fine. You know, it came out good. We're happy with it. It won't leak. That's the main thing. So we're gonna bead blast it. I'll pull the driver's side off and we'll bead blast them both, heat them up with the torch, and you know, heat treat them up a little bit, and then paint them that exhaust black, and then they're gonna both look really good. All right, I'm waiting on the fittings to get here. They should be here in the next day or two, and then we'll wrap this job up. All right, guys, as you can see, some of our fittings came in. Yeah, let me come get you off of the... All right, so we ordered a bunch of fittings, and like 7 of my 45s came in. Is that enough? I don't know. Maybe we'll need more. All right, but this is the piece that we're using to get from the muffler behind the rear. All right, so this side goes into the muffler. We shoot through, and this brings us up, and this end ends up behind the rear, about 2 inches from the trunk pan. All right, so but they're like short little turns and whatnot, and I did not want clamp, you know, I don't want that many clamps. So we're gonna have it clamped at the muffler, and we'll have it clamped up here behind the rear, up by the trunk pan, kind of out of sight, out of mind. You know, we're trying to keep it as neat as we can. All right, but we're gonna have to strategically place these hangers in such a way up there to where, you know, we can still hook them in and unhook them to get this to get this piece in and out. All right, so like I said, I don't want a bunch of clamps, so we're just gonna weld them out. We do okay, you know, it's not bad. We do all right. So let me get these others welded out, then we'll go back under the car together and we'll piece this in, and we'll take a look at how we want to do that hanger back there. Okay guys, well fast forward a few days later, our shipment came in from Speedway for the fittings. So I welded the one side out that I showed you, and I copied it on the passenger side and welded that out as well. And we drilled and tapped holes in our shock bar to mount the first two muffler clamps. They have big heavy rubber blocks, so they'll be cool. All right, and I cold bent those hangers. All right, we quick jumped around to the back so you guys can see the cold bend on the hangers. They come out really good. All right, both sides. I probably could have rolled that 145 a little bit more. The exhaust is not perfectly straight back on the passenger side, but we'll make that up when the other 45s get here and we go out the back. We can roll the two a little bit more on this side. Not too shabby though. Let me jump outside the car and show you. We're swimming with room now coming through between the tire, the frame, and the spring, along with our ladder bar. All right guys, we come up through here and now you can see we got plenty of room between the tire and the pipe now, plenty of room between the frame and the pipe, and we're swimming in room between the spring, the ladder bar, and the pipe. All right, so my next move is to put a hanger right here for cuts underneath. And then basically I'm just gonna mark where I want it up top, mark it down here, cut off the excess. All right, then I'm gonna drill a hole up into the brace, oversized, because I made these tapped blocks, and I'll set this tapped block over top of where it goes and tack it. I like to having these muffler hangers removable. That way I can get them in and out, because I'm going to sand all this up and paint it. And not just that, if I ever have to change one of the components or something like that, it just make the job a lot easier to get it down out of there. All right guys, we see up in there I blew a hole in the brace with a torch, just a little oversized hole so that clearance for the bolt. I put a tack there. I got it tacked. You have to trust me, I'm not going to climb back under there. It's tacked to the back of the 45, so I'm going to pull this out, weld that. All right, well, we got this side on the driver's side all installed. Man, look at that, the whole car shakes. So between here and up there at the shock bar, having those two hangers, it's really tight. It's good. All right, we're going to minimize the amount of clamps we have. I'm going to have to clamp here at the exhaust pipe, obviously the muffler. We'll clamp that. I think I'm going to tack that, and we'll just make that one piece from the header to the exhaust. We'll make that one piece. Let me bring you over the other side. I duplicated exactly what we did on this side. I just don't have it bolted back up. All right, got it over here. It's on the ground here. So we got this hanger welded up here. And I did the same thing. So yeah, we did the exact same thing on this side. We cut a clearance hole with the torch, and then we stuck our plate that's tapped on there and welded it out. So that's where the hanger connects. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to get this piece and I'm going to put it back in, hook everything up, and once everything's hooked up, I'm going to tack those front cutout wise to this long piece of pipe on both sides, pull them off, weld them out. All right guys, well, we welded out those long pieces to the collector wise for the cutouts. Got our muffler pipes sitting there, and we got our pieces right there that get us back over the back of the rear. I'm still waiting for the fittings to come so that I can put the tailpipes come out over here behind the back tire. But that's that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sand all this and heat it up a little bit and paint them. I have the heat paint. I'm going to use the flat black. That way they'll blend right in underneath the car. You won't even see it. So that's what's going on, and I will show you the finished product in a short or a future video. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was pretty fun to make, man. This was a lot of work to get this exhaust system the way I wanted it, and it's pretty solid and looks pretty cool. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel. It'll help us out a lot and doesn't cost you a penny. All right, so until next time, take care, everybody.